But Drew called me out on it. Called me out on it, man. Thought I was gonna get by without it, but you called me out on it, man. So I'm gonna send you the bill for that. Alright, I didn't think I was going to do this just yet, but Drew called me out on it, so went ahead and ordered all the parts for it. So we'll be placing all the body bushings. To me, let's see, let me grab a light. Most of them looked okay. Got a little bit of overspray on that one, but he called me out on this driver's side one. So that one, seen better days. It's squished or smashed in there. So did go ahead and order the kit. Doesn't come with the hardware. You got to order that separately or find it at a hardware store. But with the energy suspension, poly bushings. So part numbers 3.4141R. I think the R is just for red instead of black, but it comes with all the poly bushings and instructions. So already went ahead and took out most of the bolts. So I believe there are 12 total. Might be 14. No, 12 total, counting the core support. So I'm gonna throw the core support on today. Loosened up. Well, I took out all the other ones. So I believe they call this 2. And you have 3 right in this area. That'll be 4. 5 doesn't have a bolt. There's a bushing up on the frame rail and the wheel well. I think that one just sits in there. The kit does come with it, so I'll throw it on. And you have 6 and 7 right around this area. I'm a little concerned because I think 6 on both sides. I think it's stripped out. I think there's a, forget the name for it, but there's a nut inside in between the body and the frame. I think it's stripped out. It's pretty common. I know they sell a replacement piece for it. So I did try to loosen both of those up, and I got the same resistance on both of them. Felt like it just kept spinning, so I'm gonna worry about those tomorrow. But as far as all the other ones, they are out. Like I said, I'll throw the core support in, or the core support ones in now, just because I'm tired of it just sitting there wobbling every time you bump something. So I don't want that falling anymore. What the plan is tomorrow, when I got a 4x4, so I'll cut it down to length, and I'll pretty much run it across the floorboard for a brace, and then take my jack and jack the front body up. And depending if I can get these back ones out or not, I might have to cut a hole in the trunk to get access to it. But if I get those off, do the same thing with the rest of the 4x4. Put it along where the gas tank would be. Mine's out right now, so I'll put it along there and then take the jack and jack it up. And that way I'll get the whole body off. Not worried about it too much because there's no drivetrain. The brakes aren't even hooked up, so I know if you had everything hooked up, I think you got to remove the e-brake cable and maybe some minor stuff that's connected to the body and not the frame. But that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and find the bushings I need for position 1. So I believe it's a couple washers and 2 of the bushings. So let me put this down, I'll find those, and then I'll explain it once I find all the parts I need and then get the bolts I need for it. Alright, so instructions are a little confusing as far as this core support bushing, but it'll tell you which ones you need. So on each one of these bushings there's a number stamped in there, so you just have to find the combination of the 2 you need. So once you find those, then it'll tell you what size washer you need. So I think you have a 2-inch and a 2.5-inch. So it'll tell you which ones you need, and then which one of the sleeves you need. So it'll tell you all that. But as far as the actual bushings, once you figure out which bushing you need and the washers, I'm still going to have to go out and get different hardware for, I think, all these body ones. Ones I have up front, they should work. But looked up online, they gave me the size of the bolts. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So definitely not going to reuse those. I'll take them in, and I believe they're the same size that I got. But as far as these front ones, they were different from what I looked up online. So I had to use a couple of them I was going to use for these body ones. So these will work. But yeah, you have to, if you take the old ones off, save some of these washers, because once you get the bushings in, you still need a washer in between the frame and the new washer. So that's where these old ones come in handy, and I'll just throw it up there, put the nut on there, and then tighten it all down. But once I finish this, I'll be it for the day. Then tomorrow I'll work on those 6 bolts, or the number 6 bolts, see if they are stripped or rusted out or not. Hopefully they're not. But yeah, let me throw this washer on the bottom and a nut on that, and then tighten it down, and the core support should be staying in place. Alright, so this is a problem I'm going to be running into, is this number 6 bolt. When you spin it, it's not loosening up, but you can hear something spinning on the inside. And what it is there's like a cage nut. So it's a nut pretty much welded into place. So what you have to do is, been looking up on it, so you have to cut like a little section out where the bolt is. You should be able to find that cage nut and either hold that into place and loosen up the bolt, or just cut it out. So I'll get the cutoff wheel and try to get pretty close to where this bolt is. Cut a little section out. Probably just do about 3 sides and then just fold it up. And then what I've seen people doing is, instead of welding a new cage nut on there, they'll just take a thick washer and a lock nut, and they'll run that on top instead of a cage nut. So let me I'll have to do it on both sides. The other side's the same way. So let me get the cutoff wheel, and then I'll try to estimate where this bolt is, and then just start cutting up the floor. What I'm gonna do next is lift the body up or attempt to. Have this 4x4. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it in half. Think about maybe a 4 or 3 foot length. I'll put one up under the floorboards here, and then the other one, hopefully the jack has enough lift height on it. I'm gonna put, there's 2 braces right where the gas tank would sit. So I'm gonna put the other one there, and then I'm just gonna slowly lift the front up a little bit, then go to the rear, and then just swap back and forth. We'll throw jack stands under there just in case, but that's what I'm gonna do. So what I've been looking at, it is recommended like to soak these things in PB Blast or WD-40 for like a week, but I didn't. For the most part, they came out fairly easy besides those number 6s. That one looks like a completely different bolt, so I'm not sure if they were swapped at some point or not. You see some angles, it looked like it'd have been alright. Another one, you can see it is worn out. So yeah, so they will all be replaced. So next I'd have to go through, since I already have the position number 1 in, have to go see which bushings and washers and everything I need for the rest of them. Like I said, number 5 doesn't have any bolts, so get everything in place. Once the body's lifted off, probably have to go out and buy a couple more bolts, seeing how I use the ones for the front that were supposed to be used, I think, somewhere else. But yeah, I did notice once I took the last one out on this side, the body did drop down a tad bit, so you gotta watch out for that. So all the body bolts are off. The e-brake cable is off from when I took the rear end out, never put it back on, so sitting there with no brakes on it right now. Just have the wheels chalked. What else? Not sure how much play is going to be in the body, so I did roll the windows down just in case they do flex a little bit. Not too worried about it. But yeah, let me cut this down to size. Get one jack up front, one jack in the rear. Get both sets of jack stands out and see how it goes. Alright, so it's pretty much how I have it set up. Got a 4x4 with the jack on the back, and then have the same thing up front. So you can see I already started lifting it up a little bit. Alright, so lifted the front up. Now I'm gonna go to the rear, start jacking that up. And then once it's up enough, I'm gonna slide these 2x4s pretty much in between the frame in the middle, or the frame and the body in the middle section, just in case something does happen. It will stop it from slamming down on the frame. But yeah, so I'm already have the front jacked up. Go to the rear, jack that up a little bit, and then come back to the front. Maybe another inch or so should give me enough clearance. So I'll throw you on the time lapse, and once I finish jacking it up, get those boards slid in, I'll probably just final the bushings and piece them together how they need to be assembled, and then try to slide them into place. But once they're into place, lower the body back down, and then I'll worry about getting the bolts and everything started. Alright, so did switch up a couple things. Notice the jack, it was maxing out on its lift, so got this extra section of 4x4, just doubled it up on the rear. The front is okay, just need the single piece up there, but my garage isn't exactly level. It is at an angle a little bit, so I noticed this side of the body was hanging down a little bit more. So this piece of wood's really not doing anything, but I did take a section of 2x4, kind of put it between the body and the frame to level it back out, and it allowed me enough room just to get the old bushings out. So before the new ones go in, I might spray some of these areas real quick. Let it dry a little bit, so yeah, but that's it. The old bushings just crumble right out. So hit this area too, but you should be able to get to all the old bushings fairly easy. Might have to come up slightly on the jack. Let's see. Nope, I think I got it. Yeah, so that's mostly it. There's one more back here. Yep, got it. So I said it's 3 along the sides, and this first one is 2 and 3 and 4. I believe 3 is the only oddball one as far as the bushing goes. 4, 6, and 7 are all the same. So let me get 6 and 7 out, and then let me find the new bushings. Alright, so I went ahead and hit all the spots where I removed the bushings with some rust reformer. So right around there is pretty rusty. Pretty much where all the bolts were, there a little bit of rust. So hit all those spots, gonna let that dry for a while. What else? So all of them are off, a little beat up. So got everything off. I did put more blocks of wood up underneath, just so the body's not leaning as much. Like I said, I just cut up a bunch of, well, got where I put them now. But just cut up a bunch of 2x4s, just little, probably 6-inch pieces, and throw them up in between the frame, like right there. There's one more up in, where's that? It's up in there. There's more pieces of 2x4 up in there. So I think I have 2 on that side, 2 on this side, and 1 on each side in the back, just to keep the body from leaning too much. But that's pretty much it. Just the 4x4 and the 4x4 and the jack on the back. So once I let that paint dry, I'll come back to just getting all the bushings and washers and everything. Get all those organized, laid out on where they need to go. But I'll clean this up first, so that way I'm not mixing any parts up. Alright, so just gonna go over how I'm gonna do this. So I already have position number 1, those bushings in. So I'm gonna get 2, 4, and 6, 2, 4, 6, and 7 already. So like I said earlier, each of these bushings have a number stamped into them. So on 2, 4, 6, and 7, you need 4134, 4133. And then you're going to need a 2.5 inch washer and a 2 inch washer. So they go by the outside diameter. So get those out, and then you'll need the 3/4 sleeve. So get those, and let's see. So sleeve obviously just slides right in, and then let's see. A 2 inch go on smaller side, the 2.5 will sit on top, so it'll go in the body like that with the frame sitting in between. So do all that for 2, 4, 6, and 7 on both sides. And as far as position number 3, I believe you need the, these are the different ones. So let's see, need the 4134 and the 4132, and you're gonna do the same thing. You need one of the 2.5 and one of the 2 inch washers, and this one you need the larger sleeves, so the 1 inch sleeves. And same thing, just press the sleeve in. Then, so these will sit with the smaller one on top. You have the 2.5 inch washer on top, the 2 inch on the bottom. So might look a little different, but that's how it is for the position number 3s. And then these funny looking ones, the 4135s, they just sit in between the body and the frame on position 5. So yeah, no sleeve, bolts, or washers are used. So yeah, those will just sit into place. But I'm gonna do that. Let's get them all matched up for both sides, and then should be ready to slide into place pretty shortly. All right, so there was one thing I skipped over, is with these washers on the number 3s. You want the washer with the 3/4 inch inside diameter, and then on all the other ones you want the washers with the smaller ones. But other than that, I think that's all I missed. I did zip tie them just to keep them all organized, and I did notice that it did have the number 5 bushings in there. So these, like I said, there's no bolt or anything, they just pop out. So I already slid them in on both sides. As far for now, I think the paint, it's not tacky or anything, so I'm gonna go in and drop all the bushings into place. Have most of the bolts, they should work. I looked up online and got the specs for the bolts, even though Lowe's didn't have the exact lengths. I went a little bit longer on each bolt. So it says online, when I looked it up, it said these ran M12 by 1.75 by 95, but when I went to go try to throw those bolts on, they didn't work. So I used the I think M10 or 1.5 by 80, or no, those were, yeah, those might have been by 80, no, 90, they were by 90. So that's what I used up front, where those I was supposed to use for number 2, 4, 6, and 7. So I'm gonna be short one of them. I think I'm gonna put all of them in, but the number 6. So get everything into place. The number 6 will be missing. I'll have to run to the store, grab 2 more bolts. So that's all it is. But yeah, and then the bushings 3 says to use a M10 by 1.5 by 55. They didn't have 55, so I used 60. So all of them are slightly longer, which shouldn't affect anything. I didn't go like ridiculously long, just maybe 5 millimeters longer, so it should be all right. If it is too much, I'll just have to take them out and find the right bolts. But they do sell kits online. They're about 20-30 bucks for them. I just didn't feel like waiting for shipping, so drop these into place. You can see the difference. Yeah, pretty bad. But yeah, let me let's go through, drop them into place. I won't do the bottom one just yet because I have to run the bolt through there. So I'll get the top ones on there, then lower the body a little bit, and get all the bolts started, make sure everything's squared up. Then I'll lower the body all the way and bolt everything down. I might have to lift the body up slightly because, like I said, the garage is slanted a little bit, so should have plenty of room on the passenger side. So I'll put these in first and probably lift it just slightly so I could drop everything on the driver's side. But that's it. I know I'm doing a little bit more talking. It's probably going to be a little bit longer video than I'm used to doing, but this is how I'm doing it. There's probably safer ways to do it. I know there's I think on the GN form they do the T-bar. I think they take a 2x4, cut it down, and then take a smaller piece and nail it on there and lift it up from the pretty much the rockers. But see how my rockers are cut out. I didn't want to go that route, so I just did the 4x4 and the jacks. So it's working for me. But let me put this down and get to it. This catch nut did break. So see how it's all loose. And on the other side, it's no play, lets the bolt through. It's all good. So on this one, we'll cut it out a little bit more. Then I have to run to the store and I'll get a lock nut for this side. So I'll take what's in there out. So I'll remove that one and then have some of the thicker washers. I might pick up a couple more. But I do have thicker washers, so I'll throw a thick washer in there and then get a lock nut, and it'll allow that bolt, where it's down there somewhere, it'll allow that bolt to sit where it's supposed to sit. But yeah, so as far as that side, I'll clean it out a little bit more. Well, I'll clean this side out, vacuum the other side out. There's all that dirt and stuff in there. Just bend that back. Might throw a few tacks in there. But all the other bolts are in. You do have to adjust the height every now and then, and adjust the body to get all the bolts to line up. But everything is lined up. It's not torqued down yet because I was fighting with that last bolt. But run to the store, grab that lock nut and thicker washer so I can use it back there. I did take the 2 bolts from the core support out to use on the rears. I figured I'd rather have the body bolted down than just the core support. So had to pick up 2 more bolts, a washer, and a lock nut. Then I'll do everything back here that I need to do for this number. I think that'd be number 6 bolt. So 6 and 7 are both back here, but that's number 6. It's common for those to back out or loosen up, so I just had one. Everything else went back in where it's supposed to be. Get up underneath real fast to show you what it's looking like. After I get that last bolt in, then I'll torque everything down. Well, I guess that's all you can see is that one back there. 3 should be right there somewhere. So that's in. We got the ones in there. So you guys get the color scheme. But yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna run to the store, grab the rest of these bolts. Hopefully get that back one in. And the goal this week is I want to put the fenders back on and get the hood set on there with the nose so I can see it as a whole car. But see how that goes. It shouldn't be too much longer. Alright, so did get the last body bushing in. So what I had to do was, there's like this little cage right here, so I had to cut that, and then had that in between there. Of course, this is where the bolt was supposed to go, but it stripped out, so it wasn't allowing the bolt to catch. So what I did was, there it goes. So I took a pretty thick washer. It came off one of the bolts. It's a lot better condition than that, but took one of the thick washers, and then I have a smaller washer also I set on top, and then just took a lock nut and put it on top. So that's all I did for that one. Read up, some people no, they sell replacement ones. Some people weld them back in. A lot of what I've been seeing was don't even bother doing that, just use a washer and a lock nut and call it a day. So all the bushings are in, they're tightened down, nothing's torqued down yet, so it's getting pretty late. I'll worry about it in the morning. Did get 2 more bolts for the core support, so that is torqued down. As far as everything else, I'll get tomorrow, but it's looking good. Alright, so just got everything torqued down. All the body bushings torqued down to 52 foot-pounds. And up front on the core support, these are torqued down to 27. It's just what I read online. A couple forums said that, so that's what I went with. Want to stress how much you do not want to use power tools. Don't use an impact, don't use an impact wrench, impact driver. Use hand tools. That's one I had was the breaker bar. But you do not want to use power tools. The main reason is, like I said, those catch nuts. If you hit it too hard with the power tool, it's going to back out. It's probably going to bust or strip out. I did use one for the driver's side number 6 bushing just to remove it. That might have been one reason why it stripped out, why I had to use the lock nut instead of the catch nut. So use hand tools. Do not use power tools. What else? Just when you're lifting the body up, just be careful. If your garage is at an angle or isn't level, make sure you take that into account. So you correct that with some blocks of wood. So I just used a 4x4 and a 2x4. It worked great. And then if you are buying the hardware separately, I think when I read online, it said you need 2 M12 by 1.75s. That is incorrect. I think I used, what would it be, 12? Either 10 or 12 of the M10 by 1.5 by 90 bolts. And then I know I used 2 shorter ones. So the shorter ones would have been M10 1.5 by 60. I think all mine were a little bit longer because that's all they had in stock. So I think the 60 should have been like 55, and then the ones I used with 90 should have been 80 or 85, but a little bit longer ones worked. I did grab 2 nuts for the core support bolts. So yeah, 14 bolts total. No, 12 bolts total. So 10 of the longer ones, 2 of the shorter ones. The number 5 doesn't need a bolt. So yeah, that's it. And as far as the locking nut and everything, I didn't torque those down the same. I just got them nice and tight. So when the car is done, I'll do a retorque of all the bolts just to make sure everything's good. But that's pretty much it. Just recapped it. It took, I'd say if you're on it the whole time, maybe 2-3 hours. I took my time. Got interrupted by a solar panel salesperson, but yeah, about 2 or 3 hours and should be good. So let me get you the part number one more time. So the kit I used was the energy suspension. Part number, these are for the red ones. I think the black ones, same part number without the R. So the part number 3.4141R is what I used. Those are the poly ones from Energy Suspension. So hope I pretty much covered everything. I know I didn't show exactly what I was doing like I normally do with the time lapse, because sitting it under the car would have been tough to see, but hope I was able to explain it enough for anybody thinking about doing it. And mine was a little bit easier because I didn't have to take a motor out, or I didn't have to disconnect any brake lines. The emergency brake cable was already off. The gas tank was already out, so I didn't have to worry about any gas lines either. If you do have all that stuff connected, you will have to probably disconnect or just unbolt all that stuff. Let's see. Next for the car, I do have the brake lines in, so might throw the brake lines on. But really, I think next, or even today, not in this video, but today, I'll be throwing the fenders on, just skin it mocked up. So throw the fenders on, the nose on, and the hood on, just so I can see what it looks like with the whole body complete. But that's it for this video.